Fine. So from payable side, most of the concepts we completed. There are few concepts left with. So for today, let's pick a concept called as invoice creation based on the PO or PO and receipt. To test invoice creation based on the PO, we need to complete inventory and purchasing setups. From inventory and purchasing side, we need to complete the basic setups. So let's kickstart. Here we have a list of setups which need to be completed for inventory and purchasing. And we no need to become expert on these setups. These are completely out of the scope for finance consultant. These all setups need to be completed by SCM consultant. Okay, SCM, supply chain management or procurement consultant. So this is not our task, but here we want to understand how to create invoice based on the PO. For that reason, we are going to perform the setups. Reality, we no need to do these setups. So when you practice, I would recommend you do all these setups once and create invoice based on the purchase order. And you no need to practice the same again and again. You may practice payables and other finance applications if required one more time, but I don't recommend you to test P2P cycle again and again. One time you can test, that is enough. You can understand how the invoices can be created based on purchase order. And we have inventory, INV, and we have purchasing, PO. So we discussed in the P2P cycle what we do from inventory and purchasing side. But as per our application, the arrangement is okay. Sorry. The arrangement is within the inventory, we record the GRN, goods receipt note, or call as a receipt. From PO side, we create purchase requisition and purchase order. So within the application, the accessibility point of view or provisioning point of view, from inventory, we create GRN. From purchasing application, we can create purchase requisition and purchase order. Now, our target is creating invoice based on purchase order and invoice creation based on purchase order and receipt. So we are not going to focus on creating purchase requisition, not required. We need PO and receipt. We'll focus on the same. So from inventory, we are going to create the GRN. So inventory setups need to be completed. From purchasing application, we are going to create the purchase order. Yes, purchasing setups are required. Let's look into that. So first we'll complete the setups. Then we'll see what are the use cases we are going to test between payables and inventory or purchasing applications. So when we talk about inventory organizations, as per enterprise structure, we discussed how many real warehouses you see in the client business, those many inventory organizations we have to create. Those many inventory organizations we have to create. Say client has 10 warehouses in their business. So we need to create 10 inventory organizations. 10 inventory organizations we have to create. But as per system, we need to create one additional inventory organization. As per system, it is system requirement, not business requirement. Okay, the business requirement is different from system requirement. So system requirement is we need to create one more inventory organization. We need to create one more inventory organization. Why we have to create one more inventory organization? Let's look into that. Say your client has 3 warehouses. So you create inventory organization 1, inventory organization 2, inventory organization 3. They are into mobile sales. Your client into mobile sales. In these 3 warehouses, say they are storing the mobiles. They are maintaining the stock. Now, as per system, we need to create the items, means mobile in the 3 inventories. So here you have to create, say, iPhone. Again, here also you have to create the iPhone. And one more time you have to create iPhone. In 3 inventory organizations, we need to create same item. And when you create the three inventory organizations, same items, that we call as duplication as per system. Whatever the item we created within the inventory organization 1, same we are creating in 2 and 3 also. System is same, application is same, but organizations are different. Inventory organizations, the item also same. So this can be treated as duplication. Again and again we are creating. To simplify the solution of item maintenance within the various inventory organizations, what Oracle did is they came up with the concept called as item master inventory. Came up with the concept called as item master inventory. So with this concept, what we can do is we no need to create the items within the real inventories. These 3 are real inventories. We no need to create items within these real inventories. Any item you require in any inventory, create in the item master inventory itself. I create iPhone in item master inventory. So this iPhone related stock we are going to maintain in which inventories, which real inventories, this item we have to assign. Now we are creating only one time. Okay, we are creating only one time. Okay, that every time you can assign. So this item you can assign to inventory organization 2 and assign to inventory organization 3 also. So this is how just the solution is simplified. Now for 3 inventory organizations, the same item we no need to create 3 times. So we are eliminating the duplication of item creation in the system. The item master inventory purpose is only for item creation. We don't record any transactions in item master inventory. Reason, that is not real inventory. That inventory we call as virtual inventory. In the business you don't see, but you find only in the system. That we call as item master inventory organization, which is a virtual. 3 are physical inventories, real inventories as per our example. One is item master inventory. You may have many inventory organizations, so you can create items in item master inventory. Those items can be assigned to child inventories, or you call as real inventories or physical inventories. The terminology is different, but all are same. It could be real inventory, child inventory, or physical inventory, or say warehouse. So this is the point we have to understand why we use item master inventory organizations when we deal with items. Okay, always we create items in the item master. Those we assign to inventory organization wherever you are going to maintain the stock. Now, since this is a real, not real inventory, it's a virtual inventory. when you create this inventory organization, you no need to specify any location, know where it is exist. So just to facilitate item creation, we use item master inventory, and only you can record the transactions within the real inventories or say child inventories. Now let's see how to create item master inventory. And the child inventory means the real inventories. For our testing purpose, we'll create one item master inventory and one child inventory organization. Let's see in the system. So go to setup and maintenance page. Now, so we want to create inventory organizations. We want to create inventory organizations. We need tasks related to inventory. So those tasks would be available from the relevant offering. When you talk about inventory organization creation, the relevant offering would be product management. Select product management. So within this product management offering, we'll have a tasks related to inventory organization creation. Now we want to create item master organization. So search for item org. Search for item org. Here is the task. Manage item organizations. Manage item organizations. Click on the same task. Click on the same task. Now click on plus icon to create item master inventory organization. You can call it as simply item organization, nothing wrong. The actual name is item master. Why it is master? In payables, suppliers also we are calling as a master. We can create supplier one time, the supplier can be used multiple invoice creation. The same way, the item what we create, that item we can use to record multiple purchase orders and multiple receipts also. So when we talk about data conversion, the SCM consultant, they load items from the legacy systems. So when we talk about master data and transactional data, items also treated as a master data. In payables we discussed. So when we talk about data conversions, so we load suppliers, we load open invoices. Suppliers we call as master data, and invoices we call as transactional data. Means we do within the payables master data conversion, transactional data conversion. As per inventory, items are items treated as a master data. So SCM consultant, they perform item conversion as a master data conversion. So since we are going to maintain such kind of items, which we can use again and again in different transactions, we are calling that organization itself item master organization. Click on plus icon. And provide name for our item master organization. The ERP tree item master. The next field is organization. Reality, the field name should be organization code or ID. Always give name in the short. ERP tree item. And this is going to be under which business unit? No business unit. As per enterprise structure, the inventory organization would be under business unit. But if that inventory is real inventory, that would be under business unit. So the inventory what we are creating, the inventory organization what we are creating, it is not real inventory, it is virtual. So you no need to specify this is under so and so BU and this is located in so and so address, and you no need to specify this is under so and so primary ledger legal entity. No need to specify. Provide name and provide organization code. And what is the purpose of this item master inventory organization? Item management. It is not inventory management. Okay, it is just item management. If you see that usage as inventory management or stock management, that is treated as real inventory. So now we are in item organization creation page. That is the reason based on this page system is selecting usage as a item management. Click on next. Just click on next. Now we have to specify the item master organization name. What we are creating is the item master organization only. Select the same here. Selected. Now click on save and close. So we created item master inventory organization. Just click on done. The task is completed. Now we'll see how to create the real inventory or call it as child inventory. So search for inventory organization. Search for inventory organization. Here is the task. The task name is manage inventory organizations. Manage inventory organizations. Click on the same task. And click on plus icon. The inventory organization name is ERP3 dollars inventory. Organization code you can provide as ERP3 dollars. If you look at usage as usage is inventory management. For item master organization, item management, here we could see inventory management. Inventory management means you can maintain the stock and you can transact. You can perform the inventory related transactions. Now, business unit selection field is mandatory. Since this is the real inventory, this should be under specific business unit. Select our business unit. Select our business unit. So ERP3 Financial Services INC. So whatever the address or location we mapped at BU level, the same system is defaulting for inventory organization also. Sometimes your BU location and inventory organization, your warehouse location could be different. In such kind of scenarios, you need to override the location for your inventory. As of now, you can see system is copying the location which is available in the BU to inventory organization. Okay, this Redwood City, this location is assigned at business unit level. In the previous instance, we created location we assigned. Now we are in the different instance. Instead of creating the location, I assign existing location to our BU. The same is reflecting here. The moment you select a business unit, the system is fetching primary ledger. Yes, we assigned primary ledger to business unit by using the task called as assign business unit business functions. So based on that mapping, system is reflecting our BU or whatever the primary ledger is assigned to our BU, the same it is reflecting here. And select legal entity. So you can just specify the legal entity. In this instance, okay, so system is not reflecting the legal entities whatever created. That is reason one legal entity I created through manual process. So this is the one we are using all the time. There is some glitch in this instance. It is not showing whatever the BUs loaded, legal entities are loaded. That is the reason I created additional BU and additional LE. Anyway, you ignore it when you're practicing. You no need to worry about it. Since we are able to see the values, I'm just giving the justification. Okay, done. So these are the points. So at the time of assigning the business unit business functions to our BU and primary ledger and legal entity BU, so we have seen one checkbox below legal entity. If you enable that checkbox for our BU, that BU will be available here to select as a profit center business unit. Okay, that would be available as a profit center business unit. So no BU is just for our business unit. We didn't enable that checkbox. So if you enable that below legal entity checkbox, that BU can be selected as a profit center business unit for this inventory organization. That's how it works. Now click on next. Now we need items into this dollars inventory, but we cannot create items in the dollars inventory since it is a child inventory. Items only we can create in the item master. Now we have to specify the items whatever we need for dollars inventory, where we are going to create. That name we have to specify. So where we create the items in the item master. That inventory organization name you have to provide here. The items whatever we need in the dollars inventory, those items we are going to create in which inventory. So we are going to create in ERP tree item master inventory. Select. And if you create items in other item master inventory, those you cannot assign to dollars. If you want to assign any items to dollars inventory, that item should be created within the ERP tree item master inventory only. That's how we are doing the mapping. Just try to understand this point. So which item master inventory is going to serve the item assignment to dollars inventory that we are setting here. So item grouping behavior. Select as a definition. If you select reference organization, when you create item, you will come across many item attributes. So you will not have a full control to set those. If you select item grouping behavior as a definition organization, so you will be able to manage the most of the attributes. Again, this is kind of functionality within the inventory. We don't need to focus much. So select definition organization, that will give more privileges. And select schedule. This you can call it as workday calendar. So it is not for inventory, it is for manufacturing applications. Since inventory is tightly connected with the manufacturing applications, that is the reason we have to provide this field as a mandatory. Reality, this is not required within the inventory application. For the integrations with the manufacturing, this that can be used. What is a workday calendar? It's all about what are the shifts you are following in your manufacturing unit, and what are the timings, what are the working days, non-working days. Such kind of information you can specify. Reality, this workday calendar need to be created by SCM consultant. The same workday calendar, the name they are giving as a schedule. If you are from EBS background, if you know about basic inventory, you will find one calendar called as workday calendar. The same concept in Fusion, they are giving as a schedule. Will be scheduling all your shifts, shift timings, and working and non-working days. So we didn't create any schedule, no issues. Since we are using these practice environments, you can pick any one of the available schedule. The reality, this should be created by SCM consultant. Okay. Here you can pick any one of the schedule that works. You have to fill the value. So that's how we have to set up information at inventory organization level. Yes, we have many other tabs and fields, but we no need to focus. Our target is system should support us to create the purchase order and the receipts. Accordingly, we can set up. We no need to learn much. So just follow the setups, what we are doing, what fields we are filling. You just complete from your side. That's how you can complete the setups. It will support to execute P2P cycle. Don't try to learn these setups same as payable related setups. In case of payables, yes, we should understand the purpose. We have to focus on which data points we have to focus. Now this is out of scope area. We don't need to focus much. Just go with the very basic, which will support the setup process. That's all. Click on save and close. So this is how you can create multiple inventory organizations if required. So inventory organization is ready. And we have to set up procurement business functions and requisitioning business functions. So as per payables, we have seen we have a common options for payables and procurement, invoice options, payment options. The same way, similar to those options, we have procurement business functions is one of the setup which will control and default procurement related data. So we'll go and set up procurement business functions for our business unit. It is purchasing specific setup. It is for purchasing application, even requisitioning business function also for purchasing. We discussed as per P2P cycle, we discussed inventory is responsible to create the requisitions. Yes, true. But as per our system, requisition creation function would be available within the purchasing application. The same time, inventory has a capability of creating the requisition automatically. But if you want to create through manual process, you have to come to purchasing. From purchasing only, you can create the requisition. And inventory side, you can do certain setups that will automate requisition creation based on the requirement. That's how it works. Fine. We'll go and set up procurement business functions for our BU so that system will allow us to create the purchase orders. If you want to perform these setups, procurement related setups, select offering as a procurement. Select offering called as procurement. Now we selected procurement. Search for the same task, procurement business function. So here is the task. Configure procurement business function. Click on the same task. So we want to set procurement business functions for which BU. Select that BU. We are going to set for this BU. How I am able to differentiate these BUs with this BU? So this BU I created through manual process. These are loaded, but somehow those are not working in this environment. So INC, okay, INC ink I given with uppercase. Rest all are lowercase. Again, we have only similar name, only one. Here S and I is a lowercase, but when we written in the rapid implementation sheet, we given with a proper naming convention. Not sure somebody might have loaded like this. I created this. We can proceed with this. Say okay. So now specify inventory organization for this business unit to record the purchasing related documents. So there is a field called as inventory organization. Select our inventory organization. Click on search. We give an organization code as ERP3 dollars. Search. Select dollars inventory. Select dollars inventory. Now, within the purchasing application or within this business unit, ERP3 financial services, INC, BU, if you are going to record the transactions, you want to access the items from this inventory. That's what we are mapping. And whenever you create the purchase order, most of the time you create the purchase orders for what? Do you create the purchase order to purchase the items? Do you create the purchase orders to render the services? That you can set here as a default. Line type means, like when you create invoice, we have a lines, but there we don't select any line type. But as per purchase order creation process, we need to select the line type, the line what you are creating to procure what, so that you can set your BU level, so that within this BU, if you are going to create the purchase order, whatever the line type you specify, that will be defaulted. Say most of the time you purchase the goods, or you may just purchase services, you may render the services with a fixed price, you specify. This all can be created. There is separate task for line types. SEM consultant or inventory consultant can create the line types whatever client required. Now you can select few line types Oracle providing, rest they will create as per their business requirement. Let's set goods as a default. And within this business unit, what are the documents you are going to create? You want to create in which currency? Specify that currency. Yes, select currency, done. So apart from that, we have to understand few important points. Just make a note. We will discuss later. Before we record the transactions, we'll discuss about it. It's very important. So this is connected with our payables application. When you create invoice with a PO or PO and receipt, so these will come in the play. Just make a note. I'm writing here. Very important for us. So those we call as invoice matching options. So we have two-way matching, three-way matching, and four-way matching. Invoice matching options. Please capture invoice matching options. We have two-way matching, three-way matching, four-way matching. We will discuss before we go and create the transactions. We will talk about it. As of now, let's focus on setups. Just make a note. Here by default, you can see the match approve level. They given name as match approve level, but always you just take the name as invoice matching options. Is three-way anything you can set here as of now, because we don't know what does it mean by that. I'm setting two-way. Later we will discuss, then you can choose whatever you want. So just specify invoice match option as a two-way matching. Now, related to purchasing or procurement application, there are based on the concepts, use cases. There are many controls with these checkboxes. With these fields, you can set the defaults, right? Always remember, if any field that will help us to default certain information or information, if any checkbox that is more like control, sometimes the field also may have a control based on the value what you are selecting. So fields for defaulting, checkboxes for controlling or provisioning. Now click on save and close. And whenever you create the purchase order within this BU, if you want to default to specific payment terms, yes, you can provide, and system will use the same payment term within this BU. Okay, system will default from this business unit setup. Say save and close. So we completed procurement business function configuration. So if you want to create the requisitions, we have to set up requisitioning business function. Yes, we are not going to create requisitions not required. The reason, without requisition also you can create the purchase orders. Anyway, just it's a simple task, we will complete it. So here is the task. Configure requisitioning business function. Click on this task. So we are going to configure requisitioning functions for which BU. Select that BU. Here is our BU. Select and say OK. And select inventory organization, whatever already we selected for our BU. The same BU, select. That's all. We no need to set up anything here as mandatory. Say save and close. Done. If you are going to implement purchasing application, the common options are mandatory. You can look at the name itself. It is for payables as well as procurement. So forget about payables, whether we implement it or not. If you are implementing purchasing application, if you are going to record the purchase orders within that application, yes, system will check this setup. It is a mandatory setup for payables or purchasing application or procurement applications. So already we completed this setup from payable side, right? As a part of payable setups, already we completed. Just will review that setup. Go to manage common options for payables and procurement and select our business unit. So yes, setup is available. So again, we no need to set up. Now set up receiving parameters. Okay, set up receiving parameters. So receiving parameters for inventory organization. Why we have to set receiving parameters? We receive the material into inventory organization. When we are receiving material into inventory organization, what are the rules should work? How system should behave? What system should accept? What system should not accept? And how the receiving process should work? Those you can define with the receiving parameters. If somebody is from EBS background, if they are aware of inventory basics, as per EBS, this is called as receiving options. In EBS, what we call as receiving options, here we are calling as receiving parameters. As per EBS, okay, as per EBS, we have purchasing options. In Fusion, they introduce the task as procurement business functions. EBS, what you call as a purchasing options, in Fusion, we are calling as procurement business function. And even when you talk about AP also, let me throw some light on it. It can be useful for the guys who are from EBS background. So we have common options for payables and procurement. So as per EBS, we have financials options. EBS, whatever you are calling as a financials options, the same in Fusion we are calling as common options for payables and procurement. And in EBS, so here we have in Fusion we have invoice options and payment options. So by combining this in EBS, we have one setup called as payables options. Payables options. In EBS payables options, they split it into separate options like invoice and payment options. So in case of EBS, we have setup called as payables options. Whatever we set up in the invoice and payment options, that you can set in the payables options. Whatever we set in the financials options in EBS, that we are setting up in the common options for payables and procurement. So how Oracle came up with the Fusion? By copying the EBS. They copied the EBS product. They did certain improvements, some naming conventions. Completely they converted that application into web applications. In EBS, mostly form-based applications, form-based functionalities. So that's how you can just compare and you can understand. And when you talk about these setups, okay, so financial options, EBS we have that we are calling as a common options. In EBS, we don't have any reference data concept. In EBS, how it works? If you create payment terms, the payment terms can be accessed by any business unit. As per EBS, the business unit we call as operating unit. In EBS, if you create 10 payment terms, 10 payment terms can be accessed by any operating unit. Any operating unit. No reference data set concept to control or to assign specific or set of payment terms to specific BU. Not possible. And financials options, EBS, as per Fusion, this is the name they given. There is no concept called as a reference data set as per EBS. The reference data set concept they introduced within the Fusion applications. And payment terms, how it works in EBS, if you create payment term, see why I'm talking about this. Most of the clients are moving from EBS to Fusion. Most of the clients are moving from EBS to Fusion. That is the reason you should aware. The guys who are going to attend, who are in 100% job guarantee program, for them we have 20 hours EBS classes. Okay, anyway, you will attend those 20 hours EBS classes so that you can create that point of view. So whenever you are working on any project, if client is moving from EBS to Fusion, easily you can deal with that engagement. Okay. But at least let's discuss few points here. So reference data sets, we don't have payment terms in EBS. If you create the payment term, those are accessed by any operating unit. But here you have to provision through reference data set. And in EBS, we have a payables options. The payables options only they split it into invoice options and payment options in Fusion. Yes, the distribution sets we have in the EBS, the same available in the Fusion. And in EBS, if you want to create the supplier, you no need to create a procurement agent, not required. Procurement agent is required only in the purchasing application to create the purchase orders. That's how we have in EBS. In EBS, if you want to create the supplier, you no need to create user as a procurement agent, but in the Fusion, it is mandatory. Without procurement agent, you cannot complete entire supplier definition. So in EBS, you no need to create the procurement agent. In EBS, the naming convention is buyer. That is a direct name. And in EBS, if you want to create the supplier, you no need to assign anything to the user as a separate provisioning like role. So within the payables responsibility with the payables menu, you can create the supplier. In case of Fusion, what we are doing, some additional task we are performing. We are assigning supplier manager role to user. Then we are able to create the supplier. But in case of EBS, this sort of separate task assignment is not required. So if you have access to payables responsibility with the required menu functions, yes, you will be able to create the supplier. And when you talk about the supplier numbering, in EBS, we have a flexibility to set manual numbering or automatic numbering. But in the Fusion, they removed manual numbering setup. It is automatic. Okay, it is automatic. And again, when you talk about supplier creation, it's almost same. So you create the supplier header, you create the supplier address, site, the site will assign to business units. There we call as operating units. There we call as operating units. And when you talk about bank account creation, the same story, same story. There are a few changes. Those you'll understand in the those classes, additional classes when you attend. But here to understand few basic points. In case of EBS, if you want to create the bank account, you have to provision your legal entity as a bank account owner. But in the Fusion, it is straightforward. You no need to make your legal entity as owner. By default, legal entity can act as a owner to any bank account. Yes, in EBS, we need to create the payment process profile. Here also we are creating. In EBS, we don't have any roles concept. There we create the responsibility to have access to AP related functionalities. And again in EBS, when you talk about responsibilities, so setups and transaction creation you can do from single responsibility. If you look at Fusion, so setups we are doing from FSM, function setup manager, and transactions we are able to create application specific roles. But as per EBS, what are the menu is available for payables? That menu allows us to do AP setups as well as it will allow us to record the AP related transactions like invoices and payments. So invoice and payments, that's how we have. We don't have any LDAP concept. So in EBS, if you want to assign your operating unit, here business unit in EBS operating unit, if you want to assign operating unit to your responsibility, we use the profile options. In EBS, already we discussed multi-org structure. The multi-org setups you cannot complete without profile options. But in the Fusion, without single profile option, we can complete the entire enterprise structure definition. So that's how they did some changes in terms of mapping. Here in Fusion, what they did, whenever we are creating some setup, they given some mapping, linking. As per Fusion, you have to go and to assign the tasks through uh, profile options. So what we do through profile options, similar page they given as data access for users. There we are selecting the context value. Here what we select context that is equal to EBS profile option. So what we are doing, if you have a role called as payables manager, to the payables manager, we are selecting security contest as BU business unit, and we are giving business unit name, arbitrary BU. In case of EBS, you'll have a payables responsibility, and to this responsibility you have to set profile option. Okay, as per EBS you'll have MO operating net profile option. Through this you can assign your OU. So the OU we are assigning to responsibility through profile option. In Fusion, we are assigning the BU to the role with a security context value. We are selecting security context. So that's how they change the way how we do the mapping. Since security context they introduced, there is no use of profile option to map our BU with our role. So that is a change. So this sort of assignments you no need to do as per EBS. Yes, we need to open the AP periods. It could be EBS or Fusion. It could be 11A or R12 or Fusion. Yes, we need to open the periods. That's how it is. Okay. So in EBS, what happens is when you are opening the periods, you will be able to select your operating unit. You will feel like you are opening the periods for operating unit level, but you open the periods, the concept works at ledger level only. Since concept period opening closing works at ledger level, it doesn't make any sense if Oracle is displaying the business unit field in the opening periods page. That is the reason they removed. Anyway, it doesn't works BU level. Why to display BU just for field? That is the reason they removed it. That's how it is. Just notice if somebody is from EBS background, they can connect. If you are not from EBS background, just aware of these terminologies when we are going to work on EBS to Fusion migration. Many clients now, all the rest of all clients should move from EBS to Fusion. There is no other option. Soon they have to move. So there it will be useful. If you are in 100% job guarantee program, don't worry about this. You'll have a 20 hours classes on EBS. Like we have a classes like EBS classes for Oracle Fusion Finance experts. With the title, you'll attend the 20 hours classes. Then you'll be able to handle EBS project also if required here and there. So you'll be very powerful when you are in the any project. Like if client is moving from EBS to Fusion, or else you join in one company, they are asking you to handle some EBS project, maybe for temporary period, short period. Yes, you will be capable. And since you know EBS and Fusion, your point of view would be strong. Tomorrow, if any discussions established related to EBS and Fusion, you can just able to deal with that. Yeah, that's how you can build a muzzle of understanding the two products. Fine. So these are the few points you can make a note. Now, we'll go and set up receiving parameters for our inventory organization. The receiving parameters for not for BU, for inventory organization, which is set up. We are setting at what level is important. So we receive the material into warehouse. That means inventory organization. We are going to set receiving parameters for inventory. Again, which inventory? Not item master, only child. Item master is only for the purpose of item creation. No transactions can be recorded within the item master. So we'll go and do complete the setup. So if you want to complete that relevant setup, see few tasks are available from procurement and do inventory related offering. Okay, and even from other offerings also available. So few tasks will be available between procurement and product management, since there will be some dependency. Since there will be some dependency, a few tasks would be available. So if available, you can complete from other offering, or else just go to always relevant offer. Since there will be some dependency, Oracle provides same task in the 2-3 different offerings also. Now search for receiving parameters. Receiving, I think that they mapped with the procurement. Search. Here is the task. Manage receiving parameters. Click on the same task. Manage receiving parameters. Now, you want to set receiving parameters for which inventory? We cannot set for item master, only for child inventory. Click on search. The name starts with ERP tree. Click on search. Now we cannot see item master inventory because we no need to set for item master inventory since we don't receive anything into item master. Select dollars inventory and say OK. And click on OK. Now here is our inventory organization name. For the same inventory, we are setting certain rules in the process of receiving the items into inventory. So you can set all this, but we don't want to become a SCM consultant to understand all this. We will set just to proceed and to make system to allow to do what we targeted to do. So receipt days exceed action. Say for example, you placed order to supplier and you requested supplier to supply within 5 days. In case supplier is going to send late or early, what action system should perform? For example, here early receipt tolerance days. Early receipt tolerance, I'm giving 1 day. That means if I say send material within 5 days, even supplier is sending 1 day early, yes, it is okay. But if supplier is sending immediately, or in case of supplier is sending late, more than 1 day late or 1 day early, what action system has to take that you can set up? If I say reject, system will not allow to create the receipt. Say we placed order and we requested to send in 5 days, and supplier is sending after 10 days. Here in the system, we are setting late receipt tolerance in days is 1. That means 1 day late is accepted, but more than 1 day late is not accepted. System will reject. System will not allow the users to create the receipt within the inventory application. The same way, over receipt tolerance. I placed order for 100 quantity. Supplier shipped 150 quantity. Here you can set the tolerance. Okay, so tolerance you are giving as a 1%, or else say 10%. I placed order for 100. If supplier is going to send 105 or up to 110, yes, we are ready to accept. More than 10% extra we don't allow. In that case, if supplier is going to send more than 10% of quantity, what should be the action? Over receipt action. Reject. Is all depending on the organization policies. These can be defined while receiving into inventory, when to accept, when we should not accept, or else system should not reject to create the receipt. Just it should throw warning message so that user will be notified in these two scenarios. Or else they may send early late, receiving is important for you, then you can set none. You don't bother about anything. Okay, all set to 0. Anyway, this is not our story, our relevant story. It is for inventory consultant. And this point is important for us to understand, not directly from payables point of view. since we are going to work on receipt creation, so how that receiving process should work, that can be defined with the receipt routing. This you can call as receipt routing method. This also please make a note. Okay, receipt routing method. Receipt routing methods. Here we have three receipt routing methods. So a direct delivery, standard receipt, inspection required. As a part of O2C cycle, we discussed warehouse structure, inventory structure. We discussed we'll have a warehouse or inventory. Within that, we'll have a partition like staging and sub inventories. Now, when you receive the material into your organization from supplier, are you going to receive material directly into your warehouse? Here, warehouse means directly. Are you going to take into your sub inventory? Where you store directly, you are moving the material into that. Say from supplier side, truck will come, it will unload into targeted sub inventory. So that is a straightforward one step. Directly we receive the material and those will be dumped into our warehouse. That process, that routing process, we call as direct delivery. So if you are following this process in your organization, this need to be set in the system for receipt creation. Direct delivery means directly we receive the material into our warehouse. No, you are following the process. First, it will come to the staging, one step. Supplier to staging area. From staging area to, you'll be placing that item into right sub inventories. Two steps process. So not directly, you are not taking into sub inventories. You are taking into staging area. That is the first step. Truck will come, it will unload in the staging. First step is completed. Second step, you are going to move that material from staging to targeted inventory or say sub inventory. So that process we call as standard receipt routing method. This is direct delivery receipt routing method, and this is standard receipt routing method. Means it's a one step process. This is two steps process. Say you receive first to staging, one step completed. In staging area, you conduct the inspection, you conduct quality check. So which are passed the quality check, you accept, remaining you reject. That means the first step is we receive the material from supplier into staging, one step completed. Second step, the QA department, inspection department will conduct the inspection on those items, whatever you received. They'll reject and accept. And finally, the accepted quantity you will be moving to inventory or say sub inventory. Rejected quantity you may return back to the supplier. So if you are following such kind of process, yes, you can use inspection required. Inspection required. So this all depending on what routing the company is following to receive the material from supplier. Accordingly, this can be opted. So direct delivery, one step process, standard receipt routing, two step process, inspection required, three steps process. So this you can set whenever you create, you can change as per your requirement when you create the purchase order. But here what we set is default. When we are receiving into this inventory, okay, what need to be defaulted, but ideally you can specify this at PO level. Accordingly, system will follow when you create the receipt also. I'm selecting direct delivery as a receipt routing method. And we will receive the stock into this inventory. When you receive, we have to create the GRN, goods receipt note. So whenever you create the receipt, what about receipt number generation? That you can set up under receipt number section. So how you want to generate the number? automatic numbering, or you want to user to enter receipt number when they create the receipt. The best practice is automatic. So here type only one value, select as a number, and the field name is next number. But reality, the field name and the field functionality, there is some bug. It is not matching. That's how it works. So if I give next number as 1, system will not create the receipt from 1. It will create from 2. It means it is understanding 1 as last user number. So accordingly, you have to provide the numbering. If you want to generate the numbering from 1, you give 0. That system will understand last user number as 0. Next number would be 1. That would be the real next number. So the field name should be, as per this field functionality, the label name should be last number, last user number. If I give 1, system will use from 2. Anyway, I'm giving 1. And as a part of O2C cycle, we discussed, sales returns. If any customer is going to return the material, again that material we have to take into our inventory. We sold 100 quantity, 2 quantity customer returned. Whenever customer will return, that we have to take into our inventory. Whenever we buy from the supplier, we have to take that material into our inventory. When you buy from the supplier, how you receive the material, that we are giving in the receipt routing method. So when you buy from the supplier, you receive the material from supplier, you are taking in 1 step, 2 steps, 3-step process, we are specifying. The same way, when customer is going to return, yes, we will receive that material into inventory. So in such kind of scenarios, what receipt routing method you are going to follow, that we have to set up. The supply customer return 2 quantity. Are you going to take that material directly into your inventory, or you take into staging, then you will move into sub inventories, or you take into staging and you inspect, finally you move into inventory. So that you have to specify. So here is the title as RMA. RMA stands for Written Material Authorization. RMA. Written Material Authorization. That is a technical term they use in terms of supply chain management. But for our simple understanding, sales returns. RMA nothing but sales return. Okay. So that's how it is. So these are the mandatory fields you have to specify, so that you will be able to receive the material into this inventory by following the rules or defaults controls what we are setting. Now click on save and close. You no need to focus on all these check boxes if you want to become an inventory consultant if required. So our plan is becoming financial consultant, so we no need to worry about those. Say save and close. Done. So we completed receiving parameters. Now create procurement agent. From purchasing side, when you create the purchase order, only buyer can create the purchase orders. Only buyer can create the purchase orders. So that is reason this setup is mandatory. And anyway, this setup you completed from payables point of view. Payables point of view, we completed this setup. If no procurement agent, we cannot create a complete end-to-end supplier record. That is the reason we created procurement agent. We created our employee user as a procurement agent, and we assigned supplier manager role. And from that user, we created supplier. So from purchasing side also, just understand, if you want to create the supplier, same process. You should have a employee user. That employee user should be converted as a procurement agent. That procurement agent will create the supplier. Since we created supplier already from payables point of view, I'm not listing supplier creation here. If you don't have a supplier as per payables, yes, after creating the procurement agent, you assign supplier manager role to user and you create the supplier from that user. So already we have supplier. So I just eliminated the setups which are mandatory from purchasing application. Those are just assigning supplier manager role and creating the supplier. Already we have supplier. I'm not addressing those setups in this list. So we'll just review that setup. We no need to do again. Go to procurement agent. So manage procurement agents. Click on the same task. So here is the record which is matching. Click on edit to open and review. So we created procurement agent with the target of supplier creation. If this checkbox is enabled, that is more than enough for us to create the supplier to use in the payables. Now, as per procurement, if you are creating the procurement agent, you have to focus on these documents. If you are going to create the requisitions, make sure this checkbox is enabled. If you want to create the purchase orders, you should enable the checkbox. If you want to allow this procurement agent to create the procurement related documents, this checkbox need to be enabled. And if you want to use the same agent for sourcing negotiations, so catalog definitions, the relevant checkboxes need to be enabled. It is not like as simple as we create supplier procurement agent. It supports to record the various documents or supplier creation. It always depends on the provisioning what you are giving, what access you are giving to that agent, what access you are giving. Accordingly, the agent will be able to perform the transaction creation or supplier creation. So here we have to focus. So if you have a procurement agent, yes, if you have a procurement agent, you can create the supplier. No, the procurement agent should have a access, should have access to the relevant documents or supplier, whatever the task the procurement agent is going to perform. We have to make sure the access is granted by enabling the relevant document or activity. That's very important. Now, since we are talking about purchasing application, so we are planning to create the purchase orders. So make sure that checkbox is enabled. So we have procurement agent, which we can use in the purchasing application with respect to document access. Now, so in purchasing application, you can create purchase orders based on the requisitions also. You can create the requisition and requisition you can convert as purchase order. In that case, system will look for who is the buyer. Since it's automation, it will look for who is creating this purchase order. Such kind of data points, it will try to derive. For that reason, what we have to do is for a specific BU, who is the default buyer we have to set. For our business unit, one buyer we have to set as a default. Of course, we are not going to create the requisition. We are not going to convert the requisition or purchase order. Even we learn, no use. If you understand PO, yes, makes sense. Requisition is not required. Anyway, just we'll complete this so that just you can understand the point how we can set the default buyer. Search for the task called as just buyer. You will find the task which is related to that assignment. Here is the task. Task name is manage buyer assignment roles. We are going to set up a rule for which BU who is the buyer. There could be n number of buyers, but one buyer we have to set as a default. So click on manage buyer assignment rules. Click on the same task. Click on plus icon. And here select requisitioning business unit. The same BU will become procurement BU. Or else you can ignore it. Okay, and you can just select here. That's how it is. You select here, just that will be defaulted, so that for requisitioning BU, procurement BU, it will use the same buyer. But when you create the requisition, we don't treat the person as a buyer, we treat as a requester ideally. So only in case of purchase order creation, the user we treat as buyer. Select our business unit here. The same BU system will default as a procurement BU. So defaulting. Now select our buyer. Only our buyer name is coming. Okay. The reason is, so with this BU, which procurement agent is created, accordingly system will filter the data. Now you may set some additional parameters in this business unit. So this buyer is default. When you create invoice purchase order with which this supplier, that you can specify. You may select supplier. It means when you create purchase order with this supplier, then only this buyer should get defaulted. For other suppliers, you may set different buyer also. So there are additional parameters. Accordingly, you can set this rule, defaulting rule. So save and close. Done. So hope you captured these details. I'm removing this. You should write it. Fine. So when you create requisitions and purchase orders within the purchasing application, system will look for few accounts. Those accounts it will pass to payables application and inventory side also, based on the process which you follow. So let's talk about purchase order. When you create the purchase order, system need three accounts. System need three accounts. One is accrual account, the second one is charge account, the third one is variance account. But when we record the transactions, we'll understand why we are giving these accounts. We can explore when you create transactions. But now take the point as, so when you create the purchase order within the purchasing application, system will look for accrual, charge, and variance accounts as a mandatory. These two accounts are optional. So if you are going to perform the transactions between the inventory organizations, so we need these two accounts. So these three accounts, by default, we need these two accounts are optional. Destination charge, destination variance, these two accounts are not mandatory. Remaining three accounts are mandatory. Accrual account, charge account, variance account. If you don't set up these three accounts for purchasing application, you cannot process requisition as well as purchase order. When you create the requisition, system need only one account. When you create purchase order, system need these three accounts to pass to rest of process. One side to pass to inventory related. Against that PO, you create the receipts, it will pass that entry account. Against the PO, you create invoice, that account it will pass to payables. What account it will pass, we will see that. Now the very simple point is, we have to set up accrual account, charge, and variance account within the purchasing application. Where we set within the purchasing, there is a concept called as PO tab. PO means purchasing, TAB tab. T stands for transaction, A stands for accounting, B stands for builder. Transaction accounting builder. This can be called as TAD also. Transaction accounting definition, but the usage name is TAB only. Transaction accounting builder. We are going to build the accounting rules within this. We are going to build accounting rules within this. That's how it works. Okay, again, it is connected with the SLA part, subledger accounting. Anyway, we have a concept SLA from payables point of view, we'll go through. But here, from procurement point of view, see, when you talk about payables SLA, we no need to touch, everything works. But in case of purchasing application, you have to customize the SLA, there is no option. It's a mandatory. You take payables, receivables, cash management, fixed assets. It is not mandatory, you have to customize SLA. If any requirement, yes, you can customize. By default, whatever the SLA Oracle is providing for these applications, you can use as it is. But in case of purchasing application, SLA need to be customized to derive accrual, charge, and variance accounts. To derive these accounts, we need to customize the SLA. So already we discussed this, all setup should be done by SCM consultant. Now to run the show, we are trying to do very basic level and we're trying to complete it. That's it. Now for these three accounts, okay, we need to create three account rules. So which account system should take for accrual, charge, and variance? We need to create three account rules. So we'll go and create account rules for these three accounts. We'll go and create three account rules for these three accounts. Fine. So we are under procurement offering. We search for account rules. Manage account rules is the task. It is pointing procurement. So when you are selecting account rule, make sure that is pointing the functional area called as procurement only. Click on the same task and click on manage accounting rules. Our task is manage accounting rules. Make sure it is pointing purchasing application. Okay, we are creating accounting rules for purchasing application, not for payables or other application. So let's create the three rules. Click on plus icon. Here you can see rules, okay, which are created just for practice purpose. And few rules Oracle is providing as a default, but always we have to create as per our account derivation requirement. Okay, these are the few rules Oracle is providing. See, purchasing accrual account rule, purchasing charge account rule, purchasing variance account rule. So again, this is a big story when you talk about PO tab. So they derive the accounts based on the variety of the conditions. Okay, but here we are not going to look into all those. So we are going to create the simple constant rule. This is not our area, we don't need to focus. If you don't complete this, we cannot use the purchasing application. That is the reason we are going to create the very simpler way which system allows to complete. So click on plus icon and give the name as ERP3 accrual rule. Provide the short name. Select our chart of accounts. Say OK. And click on plus icon under rules. And we'll discuss these value types when we deal with SLA from payables point of view. Since it is related to purchasing, we are not talking about much. Again, here, procurement point of view, we don't need also. Simply select to complete this setup, select value type as a constant. That means we are going to give constant account code combination for accrual account rule. Here, you select accrual account code combination. Here we are going to give direct account as a just company code as 1000, but reality SCM consultant will create these rules based on various conditions. If business unit is equal to so and so, if the item category is so and so, okay, based on the client requirement, they define that rules. For that we have a mapping set. That's how they manage that solution. Now we no need to worry about all those things. System should support us when we create the purchase order. That is our target. So when you talk about accrual account, the nature of account is liability. Ideally, what reality we do is we create separate account called as uninvoiced liability. We create separate account called as uninvoiced, okay, or not invoiced liability, or you can say accruals. That's how you create the account. That account we can choose here. Since we need account with a nature called as liability, I'm going to use our accounts payable account because other accounts we don't have. So we don't have account called as uninvoiced liability kind of accounts we don't have. That is reason. Anyway, nature should be liability. Yes, our accounts payable nature is liability. To complete this setup, I'm choosing reality. The SCM consultant will choose here account called as uninvoiced liability or accruals. So rest of segments you can provide default values. Say OK. Say save and close. Or click on save and create another. We have to create two more. The next account is, let's create charge account rule. Here to create charge rule. Select our chart of accounts. When you say chart of accounts, always remember we are referring chart of accounts structure instance only. Under rules, click on plus icon. Select value type as constant. If required, which account code combination system should take for charge account. The charge account nature you have to set as an expense account. Right? When we buy the material, we are spending. You can use any one of the expense account for our testing purpose. So it's just you are buying some small tools for that expense account. You can select. Say okay. Click on save and create another. The next rule for variance account. Variance rule. Select our chart of accounts. Why we are selecting our chart of accounts? Within our chart of accounts only we have all the segments and values. Here, when you create the rule, we need that information. What are the information we have in this chart of accounts that we are able to access from this field? So provide variance account rule. Search for variance account. So variances, say okay. Say save and close. For remaining two accounts, we no need to create the rules. Destination charge, you can use the same charge account rule. Destination variance, you can use the same variance account rule. Okay, by default, these two are not mandatory. The mandatory accounts are accrual, charge, variance when you create purchase order. So yes, we created account rules. Now we are going to create PO tab that can be called as transaction accounting definition, TAD, but we don't call it as a TAD TAD or something else. We call as a tab, PO tab, transaction accounting builder. To build accounting rules, we are using the definition. That is the reason we call as a PO tab. PO means purchasing tab or purchase order tab. Okay, purchasing tab. So go to the same task, transaction account definition. Click on done. So here is the task. So we are here like we use this task. Below you can see manage transaction account definitions. Click on the same task. And again you can notice this is pointing to purchasing application. Click on plus icon. So let's create PO tab. Giving name as ERP tree PO tab. Select our chart of accounts here. Click on search. Name is ERP tree. Say okay. And here, one second, let me just drag it. Here we have those 5 type of accounts. The title is transaction account types: accrual account, charge account, variance, and destination charge, destination variance. Okay, so these are the 5. Now select the rules whatever we created. Here is the field called as account combination rule. Simply you can call as account rule. Yes, there will be combination within that account rule. Now select the rule whatever we created. ERP3 accrual rule. This is accrual account. Select accrual rule and charge account. Select charge rule. So variance account. Select variance rule. Right here, accrual, your charge variance. Based on the account type, you have to select the respective rule. And these two also we can fill with the same. Since it's a destination charge, we use normal charge rule. It's a variance account rule. Use variance rule. So that's how it is. Now click on activate. Click on activate. Now the status is incomplete. We are activating. Now see the status is active. Say OK. Done. The next task is this rule we have to assign, this pivot tab we need to assign to our ledger for purchasing application. So within by using our primary ledger, if you are creating any purchase orders, what are the accounts we specified in the pivot tab, accordingly system will derive the accounting. The pivot tab we need to assign to our primary ledger. Assign tab to ledger. Okay, use this task. Subledger accounting options. Subledger accounting options. Fine. Now, search for subledger accounting option. Yes, here we have manage subledger accounting options. Click on the same task and find our primary ledger here first. Search. Select our primary ledger and search. Now the PO tab, whatever we created for purchasing application, it is a mandatory, we have to customize it. Or else what Oracle is providing as a default, you should modify it. Finally, you have to customize. You may create from the scratch or you may modify what Oracle is providing, but customization is mandatory. Now look for purchasing application here. See, within the ledger, for all these applications, SLA is available. Our system is displaying all these applications with our ledger name. Within our ledger, we have subledger accounting method. Within that method, the SLA is available for which application. It is showing all the applications here. Now look for purchasing application. Here is the purchasing application. Now, for this purchasing application, we want to assign PO tab. To assign the PO tab to purchasing application, here we have accounting options. Click on edit. We are going to edit accounting options for purchasing application. Click on edit. Click on edit. Now, here we can see transaction account definition. So purchasing tab default accounting given by Oracle, it is a dummy one. Remove this and select whatever we created. So ERP3 PO tab. Click on save and close. That's all. You have to select for purchasing application the combination of our ledger. Say save and close. Click on done. So we completed PO tab. Completed pivot tab. So now we'll complete remaining setups. And we need to set up approvals for requisition and purchase orders. So anyway, we are not going to create the requisition. Ignore requisition setup, requisition approvals. So we have to set approvals for purchase order document. It could be requisition or purchase order. The approvals are mandatory. If you talk about payables, we created invoices, approvals are not mandatory. When we implement approvals, yes, approvals will become mandatory. But as per purchasing application, if you create requisition or purchase order, approvals are mandatory. Approvals are mandatory. If you don't need any approvals, at least you have to set auto approvals. At least you have to set auto approvals. We'll go and set automatic approvals for our purchase, for our BU. That means within our BU, if any purchase order is created, system should approve that purchase order automatically. So that's how we will go and set automatic approval rule. We'll go and set up automatic approval rule. Let's see that. So yes, we are under procurement offering. Search for approvals. Search for approvals. So here is the task for purchasing document approvals. If you want to set approvals for requisition, here is the task. But anyway, we don't need requisition. So here is the task to set up approval for purchasing document. So task name is manage purchasing document approvals. Click on this task. Click on the same task once again. So again, it is big story when you talk about approvals from the procurement point of view. So there are different stages. There are like stages like pre-approval stages, post-approval stages, terms. And again, we have a different routings, voting regime. So these are like how approvals works and how whether approvals goes to one person or it will go in the sequence, parallelly approvals will go, how it should work accordingly, those can be defined here. But we are not here to learn all those things. We want to bypass the approvals. So for that only the option is at least you have to set auto approvals. Now multiple stages we have, you can notice two stages are enabled. Two stages are enabled. Let's disable this stage. We are going to use this stage. Which stage we are going to use? Post approval consensus, routing is parallel, voting is consensus. So we are going to use that stage. The other stage you can disable it. Yes, you can keep it as it is, no issues, but we don't know how the rules are created within that may conflict. So better you can disable. Anyway, it's a practice environment. In case of real implementation, we never touch this setup. So make sure this stage is enabled. If it is not enabled, click on enable here if it is already disabled. Say this is the one we are going to use, select and enable it. Now within this stage, we are going to create the rule for purchase document approvals. Select the same stage. You can call it as stage or you can call it as a node, N-O-D-E, node. Select this stage and click on edit rule. You want to create the new rule or you want to edit existing rule, same you have to choose. The tab is same, edit rules. We are going to create, we are not going to edit, but rule is same. So let's create the rule here. I would recommend if any rule is available, since it's a practice instance, better you disable it. We don't know what is there inside of that rule. Better you disable so that your rule will work very smooth. So now click on plus icon, say auto, just set auto because we are going to set approvals automatically. Say okay, our rule is enabled. Just we given the name. Scroll little down, we are going to set condition for our rule. Add conditions. Based on what conditions this approval should work. Click on add condition and select attribute. When you create purchase order, our BU is called as a procurement BU. Since it is involving in the procurement activity by creating the purchase order, we call our BU as a procurement BU. So what we can do is we can tell to the system if any purchase order is created with our BU, that purchase order need to be approved automatically. Say that is our requirement. So here attribute select as procurement business unit. Type procurement and select this value. Procurement BU document header. Now, if business unit is equal to our business unit here, select our BU. Or you can type yes. If business unit is equal to this BU, what system should do? It should approve automatically. That we will set as an action. Okay, here is action. Now just we are defining the condition. If condition, if business unit is equal to the value is ERP3 financial services INC, say okay. Then what system should do? That you can set through action. Click on add action. Approvals required? No. If business unit is equal to ERP3 financial services BU, approvals we don't need. The action we need as automatic action we required. Which action? Automatically system should approve or reject. Our requirement is it should approve. In purchase order, the BU name is, the procurement BU name is ERP3 financial services. Automatically system should approve. This approval workflow should update our PO status as approved. That's how it is. Say okay. So this is how we can create automatic approval rule to bypass the approvals. Yes, we are not bypassing, we are just simplifying. Instead of notification will go to so and so user, that user will approve, then only the PO will be approved. So save and close. After creating rules or after editing the rules, it is a mandatory you should submit for deployment. Otherwise, the changes will not reflect or the new rules what you create will not work. So click on deploy. It is similar to our accounting flex field deployment. Okay, it will validate if anything wrong with that rule. It will trigger the message. That's how it will confirm. Now, what are the changes we did? Those are deployed. Say okay. Click on done. Right. So we create a rule. Now we'll create sub inventory. Why we have to create the sub inventory? Already discussed as a part of O2C cycle. So The inventory can be structured into sub inventories and staging. Staging is the area where we receive the material and will place from there we place the items in the sub inventory, or else you may move the material from sub inventory to staging. From staging you will send the material to your customers. So as per our system design, as per inventory application design and solution, sub inventories are mandatory. Tomorrow, your client may not have sub-inventories concept, but at least you have to create one sub-inventory for each inventory organization. You have dollars inventory. Within the dollars inventory, you have four sub-inventories. Yes, you create four sub-inventories. In dollars inventory, they don't have sub-inventory concept. Then create dollars inventory again as a sub-inventory also. So that's how you can create the sub inventory. If they have, how many they have, create. If client doesn't have any sub inventories, at least you create one sub inventory. The reason, when we are receiving the material, means when we are creating the receipt, sub inventory is mandatory. You should take the material into sub inventory. Ultimately, you store the material in the sub inventory. Even you don't have your inventory, you have to create as a sub inventory also. Then you will be able to receive the items into that sub inventory, or you can say into that inventory organization. If you want to receive the material into inventory organization, sub inventory is mandatory. The simple point is, for item receiving, sub inventory is mandatory. That's how our system is designed. It's a very simple definition. When you talk about sub inventory, we create sub inventory inside of our inventory organization. Inside of our inventory organization. So let's see that. If you want to create the sub inventory, you have to use this offering: manufacturing and supply chain material management. So that sub inventory definition will be available in material management offering. Select it. Now search for sub inventories. Now here is the task: manage sub inventories and locators. Okay, sub inventories and locators. So when you look at inventory organization, okay, top level we have item master. Item master will serve the items assignment with the inventory organizations. So within the inventory organizations, we maintain sub inventories. So within the inventory organizations, we maintain sub inventories. So within the sub inventories, we can have a further partition like locators. Within the locators, you can have further partition like row, rack, bin, for easy tracking purpose. Easy tracking purpose. This always we see when we go to medical store. You see that stuff is arranged in the racks, in the rows, or they maintain some stuff in the specific bin or boxes, so that it would be easy. The same they can track in their system. The system, they'll go and check for so and so medicine. It will show that is available in the row one, and or so and so bin or so and so rack, so that easily they can grab that item in the process of sales. The same way within the inventory organization, so those all the items what we maintain, we can maintain in the separate sub inventories. Within each sub inventory, you can have separate locators. You can segregate further. And within the locators, you can have the concept called as row, rack, bin. This is how that inventory can be structured and managed. Okay. So that easily they can place and easily they can pick the items when they are performing the transaction, when they are going to ship the material or whenever they receive the material, they can place that material in the right spot. And if you don't keep this kind of arrangement all the time, it will create big mess. You will have a stock in warehouse, but you don't know where it is located. That's how it is. But when you talk about inventory organization, sub-inventory is mandatory. The locators, row, rack, bin, those are separate concepts as per inventory. We no need to understand, not required. Let's see how to create sub-inventory. So here is the task. Task name is manage sub-inventories and locators. Manage sub-inventories and locators. Click on this task. So we are not going to create any locators. We are going to create only sub-inventory. Click on manage sub-inventories and locators. So system is fetching our inventory organization. ERP dollars. If you have multiple inventory organizations, by clicking on change organization, you can switch from one inventory organization to another inventory organization. So to create sub-inventory, okay, make sure your inventory organization is selected here. Then click on plus icon to create sub-inventory inside of dollars inventory. Give your sub-inventory name. Say I'm giving sub-inventory name as computer sub-inventory or say mobiles. Our sub-inventory name is mobile sub-inventory. So we discussed as per O2C cycle, staging area and sub-inventory. Within the inventory, you can have a staging area and sub-inventory. It could be sub-inventory creation or staging area creation. We use the same task. Sub-inventory creation task only we use. Say for example, this you want to use as a staging area. First mobiles will come to this area. From here you want to move to your sub-inventory. If that is the process you are going to follow, and you can select this mobile sub-inventory as sub-inventory type as receiving. When you say receiving, it is staging area. And when you select it as receiving, where you are receiving, you have to provide the receiving location. If you say it is sub-inventory storage, storage means real sub-inventory. You no need to say location. It would be somewhere. Sub-inventory, it's fixed. Somewhere you will have. You don't need to specify the location for that. Still, if you want to specify, yes, you can specify. So, if you want to create the sub-inventory or if you want to create the staging area, same page. So only the type can be differentiated between staging area and real sub-inventory creation or dummy sub-inventory creation. We discuss if no sub-inventory, also minimum one sub-inventory you have to create for each inventory organization. That's how it is, right? So by default, it is storage. Storage refers sub-inventory. Means you are going to store the items within the sub-inventory only. Yeah. Click on save and close. Our sub-inventory is ready. So within the dollars inventory, we have one sub-inventory. If you want to create multiple, yes, you can create. If you want to create locators, yes, you can create. Ignore it, not required for us. Done. Fine. Just a few more setups. We'll close. I think this will take time. It's already 9, close to 9:30. Better we can do these setups in the tomorrow session. Okay, tomorrow session we'll finish these setups. So, and we can see how to create purchase orders, how to create invoice based on the purchase order, how to create purchase order and receipt, how to create invoice based on PO and receipt, and we'll see how to create invoice automatically based on receipt. Means we don't want to create invoice by matching with the PO and receipt. that we want to automate in the system. So we'll see the all possible use cases where system will interact with the payables application, means the purchasing inventory application, when and when it will interact, how it will interact. And when we are creating invoice through matching, we'll understand those matching options, what we discussed, two-way, three-way, four-way. When you create invoice, that time we'll discuss. So when you create the receipt, already we discussed receipt routing methods, direct delivery, standard receipt routing, inspection required. So that we will just notice where, how those can be selected, how those will function. So just few setups are left. Okay. Just let me throw some light on it, what purpose. So item class. If you want to create items in inventory, item class is mandatory. So without item class, you cannot create items. Item class level, you can set certain rules like item number generation, how it should be, and who can create items by using this item class. Which item master organization can create the items by using this item class. That's how we are going to set at item class level. And once item class is ready, we will create item and we have to assign the item to our inventory organization. It means we are going to create items within item master organization. Those items we will assign to our dollars inventory. And to have access to inventory and to purchasing application, we are going to assign inventory specific roles as well as purchasing application specific roles. And we provide the data access. Means for inventory roles, we assign our dollars inventory. Purchasing application roles, we assign our business unit. Then for synchronization purpose, we run the LDAP job. There is no concept of opening periods for purchasing and inventory application. If you are from EBS background, yes, we need to open the periods for inventory and purchasing in EBS. Fusion, they removed. Okay, no periods concept for purchasing and inventory, mean to say opening. So these applications will utilize GL period status only. These inventory and purchasing applications will utilize GL period status. There is no concept of opening and closing periods for purchasing and inventory. We have periods concept for payables. We have periods concept for receivables. We have period concept for fixed assets and GL. We don't have any period opening concept for cash management application. In the same way, for inventory and purchasing, we no need to open any periods. But when you talk about inventory point of view, there is separate concept called as costing, cost accounting. There we have a cost books. For cost books, we have to open the period. Again, that is a different story that is related to accounting for inventory related transactions. So these are the points. We no need to open any periods for inventory and purchasing. So without opening any periods, we can create the purchase orders and requisitions within the purchasing. Without opening any periods, we'll be able to create the receipts within the inventory application. Okay, just make a note of those points. So these are the few setups are left. We'll complete in tomorrow's session. So we are done for today. Ideally, no questions required here since this is not our area. But if you have some question which more connected with the finance based on this, you can ask.
So
Any
there is an
questions,
issue with
please?
the instance. Two instances, one instance is down, the other we are not able to log in, and the one that you are using seems to have some issue.
What issue
Although the
you have?
setup, huh?
What issue you have with this instance?
For example, I created the whole. I did the rapid implement. I used the rapid process of defining my chart of account and everything, and did the complete setup. But when I try to go and use create accounting, it doesn't default the LE.
Create accounting LE.
Yeah, 1 second. When I go to create accounting,
There you'll have a ledger, not LE.
oh, sorry, ledger.
Okay.
I mean, everything else works. It just doesn't work that part. So I was wondering if you could
Let's
fix.
look into this. Let's look into
Sure.
this.
Can I give you my login name?
Not required, just same instance,
Okay.
right? Let me check.
Yeah, but
Whether it is
you
very
have.
no, 1 second. It's maybe very specific to your setup or instance level. I'm checking.
Okay.
Select payables. Yes, it is working.
So if I go there and I go on invoices and I payables invoices and I say create accounting
Do one
and
thing. Do one thing. You
Mhm.
create accounting from here itself. From here, you find your invoice.
Uh-huh.
You can click on post to ledger.
Oh, okay.
Completely as a workaround. Since
Okay.
there it is not displaying, find your invoice here
Right.
and select that invoice, click on post to ledger.
Okay.
Try in this way. For
Because everything else is working. I mean, I'm able to uh, from just the invoice
that's
itself, I'm
what,
able to.
maybe your ledger health is not okay somewhere, we don't know, right? We'll just no worries because these are not the client instance and all. We use temporary purpose, accept it, go with the workaround, right? Maybe today it is not working, tomorrow it may work for you, your ledger also, right? Try
Okay.
after some time again tomorrow. Meantime, if you want to create accounting, so
Mhm.
just follow this process. If you remember, the same we did, right, in the previous classes, when we tried running the create accounting, the ledger field was not coming in the other
Oh,
instance,
okay.
right? So what we did, we just created accounting from here for temporary purpose. Yeah.
Okay.
Just try this, try same from your end. And after some time again, check if it is working okay, or else you proceed. Meantime, we'll switch to other instance also.
Also, the other one instance is down and the other one is not logging in with the user and password provided in that file.
Yeah, I'll just check with the team. Ideally, they'll
Okay.
keep updating. They'll check what is working, what is not working. If something is not working, if already other instances available, they update. Anyway, I'll just check
Sure.
with them if
Thank
any other instances are available to update very quickly. Yeah, I'll do that.
you. Thank
Fine. Any other questions from anyone, please?
Sir, is it possible to record the intercompany invoice through AP module?
Yes, you can record. You can
Okay.
record in AP. What you can do is you give distribution one balance and segment value, liability level different balance and segment value, ledger level make sure that intercompany accounting checkbox is enabled. And you
Okay.
have to provide that intercompany accounting information, intercompany payables and receivables. Yes, it will support.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Even you can record from the GL also. Say you don't want to pass intercompany invoices in the payables and receivables.
Okay.
Directly you can pass intercompany journal also. Manually you can just enter. Say for which company it is expense, which company it is revenue. You can enter. Say company 1,000 it is expense, company 2,000 it is revenue. Automatically system will take that intercompany payables and receivables to balance that 1,000 with 1,000, 2,000 with 2,000.
Okay.
Possible. That we can.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir,
Yeah.
for this conversation.
So, any other questions from anyone, please? No questions. So that's all for today. We'll catch up tomorrow. Thank you all.